All right, continuing on. Like I say, women, African American women, I do agree with you 100% that there is no good black men left, not in a large number. I agree with you on that. There's not. A lot of people they would like to basically say there's no good black man left, which is true. But how did it get this way? I mean, how it got this way is very simple. I mean, it's not even a secret. It's not something that's like, oh my gosh, how did it get this way? I mean, women, if you want to find out how it got this way, simple. Go to your mother. Go to your grandmother. And you might want to start with them first. Your grandmother, number one, your mother, number two. Why do I say that? I'm not talking about particularly your mother, your grandmother. I'm talking about generations. Each generation is supposed to teach the next generation to build them up. But African American generations, we stopped building up in the late 50s, 60s. That was it. At the latest, the 70s. After that, every generation has gotten weaker and weaker for African Americans. So if you want to talk about there's no good black man left now for those women, you have to look at the generation before you and the generation before that. So that would be your grandmother's generation. But another thing is the generations are too close together now in African American community. The average grandmother is what, 35, 40? There's no separation from, if you count 1, 2, 3, there's really no separation between 1 and 3. And the separation usually is like 30 years, maybe. Depends. I mean, it depends. But that's one thing you can't look at is there's no age difference in African American generations. My generation shouldn't have anything to do with my mother's generation. My mother's generation should have nothing to do with her mother's generation. We're supposed to be separate, but the African American community, we're clumped together now. But even being said, there are still certain things that I'm sorry, the previous generation and the previous generations have to take responsibility for. And whatever generation that you fall in right now, you have to take responsibility for. For instance, if you have a son and he's not being raised properly, if you have a daughter and she's not being raised properly. Now, I'll keep saying raised properly. Let's take it something basic and simple. If you have kids right now and your kids do not know what respect is, then you're setting up your kids to have the same problems you're having now with finding someone to love, finding someone to be with. No matter if it's another male, another female, it doesn't matter. No matter what gender they choose, it doesn't matter now. There's zero respect in the African Americans. Zero. The little respect is either forced or programmed, which pretty much is forced. It does, and a lot of women say, well, I'm a single parent. Congratulations. Stop hiding behind that. Because the simple fact is, you're a single parent, congratulations, but guess what? To teach your kids respect is free. It takes no effort. It really doesn't. And it goes back to the point where I make is what makes you a good parent? Are you a good parent because you clothe, feed, and house your kids? No. I'm sorry. That doesn't make you a good parent. That's standard. But teach your kids respect. Not for your sake and for the next generation's sake, for their generation. But African American parents stop doing that as a majority. Not all. As a majority, African American parents have stopped teaching respect to their kids. And that is why there's no African American males worth mentioning today as a majority. It used to be back in the day, it used to be a majority or even half of African American males was worth anything. Now, no. As a whole, I say there may be 10% worth, and out of those 10%, 9% probably married already. So our generation is getting weaker and weaker by every generation. And it is sad. It really is. It's sad. So females, if you want to blame someone for the lack of good African American males, you must start with the generation above you and a generation above them. Plain and simple. No matter if you go to your mother, your father, your uncle, your aunt, it fell on them. They were supposed to raise or even just teach respect to their generation, but they didn't. They didn't teach anything. And a lot of females are hiding behind I'm a single parent. But that has nothing to do with teaching respect. Even if you wasn't a single parent, you're still supposed to teach your kids respect. So don't hide behind that. And don't say you don't have time to do it. I mean, I actually heard a female say she doesn't have time to teach her kids respect. Really? I heard dudes say the same thing. So I'm not just talking about females. I'm like, really? Out of all the things you want to teach, man, before your kids know how to read and write, teach them respect. Damn. But nah, not these generations. No. That's sad. You keep thinking you seeing a whole bunch of African Americans around. You see African Americans with kids saying how many kids they got. Those numbers mean absolutely nothing if the vessel is empty. There's just basically, by definition, African American kids nowadays are becoming zombies. Brainless, leaderless, have no respect. That's a zombie.